Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great webinar from CPAacademy.org. My name is Jasmine, and it's my pleasure to welcome you into today's course. Optimize your CAS practice by mastering advisory skill sets. I've got your presenter, of course, that is Amy Franco. I'm so happy to have her back on the platform, and she's going to be leading today's topic alongside the Build team. And thank you so much for sponsoring this webinar and making it available to our audience. I'll turn it over to them in just a moment. But before we get started, please help me with a quick audio visual check by heading over to that Q&A panel. That's on the right side of your screen. Type me a message there to let me know that you can hear my voice. You can see that title slide, and you can see all four of us using our webcams for the time being. While you're there, please let me know where you're tuning in from and what made you sign up for this course. You have carved time out of your very busy schedules to be here and attend this webinar. And I'd love to know what you're looking to learn, or is there a question that you're hoping to get answered? Do you need some support or guidance to help with your clients? Just interested in this topic overall, looking for some CPE credits? Let me know what made you sign up and what you're hoping to gain from attending today's course. I'm checking out that Q&A panel right now. And so we've got Idaho, Washington, Louisiana, Florida, Richmond, Virginia, South Carolina. I see Lisa's wanting to polish some new skills. I see Asheville, North Carolina. We've got learn some functions that CAS offers and wondering what skill sets will be covered. I've got Atlanta here, Las Vegas. It looks good. We've got lots of folks confirming that everything is in fact working. Glad to hear it. Now, if at any point you run into any issues with the technology, drop me a note right there in that Q&A panel, and I'll get around to you as quickly as I can and get you back on track with the presentation. And this Q&A panel is, of course, also for your questions. And as I mentioned, we've got a few members of the Build team here to answer your questions in real time. So go ahead and leave any of those questions, submissions, comments in that Q&A panel. We'll do our best to get them addressed on air, but if not, don't worry, because I'm going to share a full report with them once we finish up today. Now, we are recording today's session, and that archive, as well as your CPE credit, will be uploaded to your CPAacademy.org account a little later today. And I'm seeing some folks coming here for CPE credit. I'll let you know right now how to earn it. Just stay with us for at least 50 minutes total. That's 50 minutes. And respond to at least 3 attendance checks. We are going to have one poll, and it's just to gather some information from our audience, but CPE will be issued using attendance checks. And so there's more information about that at the footer of your viewing page right now. But it's basically a graphic that will appear on screen every so often. And actually, it'll be at complete random. I won't be able to tell you how many have come or how many are left and when they're becoming. They're not timed. They're coming at random for every single login. But you just look out for an icon that looks like a hand over a computer mouse. Click anywhere on that graphic and it should disappear from view immediately. That's how you know that your response has been recorded and we've got your attendance logged. Now, like I said, just go ahead and do that at least 3 times. There'll be plenty more opportunities than 3, but go ahead and do that at least 3 times. Stay with us for 50 minutes total. You will earn your full credit later today. Now, I think we are all set. There is one handout available to you right now in the handouts tab. Don't know if I mentioned that already, but other than that, I think we're just about set. I'm seeing folks continue to chime in from all over the country, and I'll go ahead and hand things over now. Megan, our attendees are ready, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan, and I'm on the marketing team here at Bill. We're thrilled to host and welcome you to today's webinar. For those of you who aren't yet familiar with the Bill suite of products, we're a leader in financial automation software for small and mid-sized businesses and for the accountants that serve them. We help you streamline your services and grow your client base with trusted solutions for AP, AR, corporate cards, expense management, and forecasting. The Bill Accountant Console lets you optimize services for each client, all in one place. You can add new entities, view tasks across all entities, and deliver support to multi-location companies. With Bill, you're more than a customer. You're a partner. Get the support that you need to scale your firm to new heights. Bill is a trusted partner of leading U.S. financial institutions, more than 8,000 accounting firms, and accounting software providers. Our spend and expense management solution, including our corporate card offering, gives businesses the credit they need and helps them save time and money by automating expense reports, budgets, and reimbursement processing all in one place. Like Jasmine mentioned, we do have a non-CPE credit poll question that's running today. You can find that on the poll tab. The Bill team is curious about where our attendees are in your journey with bill pay or spend and expense management. Would you like to learn more about a specific product? Let us know your response in the poll, and a member of our sales team will follow up to provide a demo. Now, we've gotten through all of my stuff. Please join me in welcoming today's expert, Amy Franco. Amy was named to LinkedIn's Top Sales Voices and is a sought-after sales and leadership keynote speaker. With her unique blend of current research, fresh insights, and real-world examples, she has worked with some of the world's most recognized brands. With more than 20 years of client-facing sales experience, Amy's sales career includes global companies like IBM and Lenovo before pivoting into entrepreneurship. Her book, The Modern Seller, is an Amazon bestseller, and she's recognized by Top Sales World as one of the top 50 sales bloggers and keynote speakers in the world. You can tell we love Amy a lot. We're so grateful that she's here today, and I'm going to hand it over to her so that she can dive into her presentation. Amy, the floor is yours.
Megan, Jasmine, Melanie, thank you so much. It is good to be here with all of you. I wanted to have my camera on for at least a moment or two just to say hello so you could attach a voice to the face. I'll go ahead and turn off my camera here momentarily. But we were talking a little bit backstage about the popularity of today's topic. And I think we had nearly 700 people register for today's topic. And what I really like about this topic that we're covering today is, yes, we will be talking about this in framing this up in terms of your CAS practice. However, I would also offer that these are skills, what we'll be talking about today, that you could use across your firms, across your organization. So definitely more application than CAS, but we will be talking about it specifically in the realm of CAS today. And just to follow up on Megan's introduction about Bill, and I have been a partner of Bill's now for a number of years. And as you are considering how your firm is going to continue to grow, you will implement things like CAS. Having the right technology stack and that technology support is really mission critical to your business. So I would highly encourage you to have a conversation with Bill if you haven't already, or if you are already a Bill client, having additional conversation about other ways that Bill can be helpful to you to help you scale your business. So again, thank you to Bill just for this partnership over the years, and I'm excited to dive in. I'm not doing poll questions today, which is a little different. I wanted to experiment with using Q&A. So you have the Q&A section of the platform here, and thank you so much for everybody who has jumped in to say hello and let us know where you're from and some of the things that you're interested in learning about. But as we are going through today's conversation, please feel free to put your questions into Q&A or any comments that you have into Q&A, and I will make a point as we go through to look for those questions and comments and to weave them into today's conversation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera here just for the time being. I'll turn it back on when we get ready to wrap up, and we will get into the agenda. All right, so here's what we are planning to cover today. The first is really developing some clarity around what it is that our clients and prospective clients, what they truly value when it comes to the advisory piece of CAS. So we're going to start there, and I'll give you some working definitions around that. Secondly, we're going to dig into traits, skills, and also the requirements of firm leadership. So if you're leading a firm or you're a segment leader, this will be something for you as well. What do we need in order to create success? I'm also going to give you a little bit of nuance about what I mean between what's a trait and what's a skill. So I know a couple of you have chimed in, really curious about what those skill sets are. I will then move into some strategies to build advisory skill sets into your existing staff development programs. How do we weave in the requirement for advisory, which will only continue to grow? How do we weave that into what it is that we're already doing so that you can leverage your current staff development investments. And then lastly, positioning the value of advisory in the marketplace. There's the building of the traits and the skill sets, but also it's who knows about the value that we bring through advisory within the marketplace and within your clients. Because as you establish and grow a CAS practice, we need the marketplace to know that we're here and that we are experts in this space. And our advice will help you to grow your own organization. So those are the major topics that we're going to cover, and we'll go ahead and dive in. First up, let's talk a little bit about some working definitions. The difference between an advisor and a consultant. There's definitely some crossover here, to be sure, but I want to give you some clarity as you think about what is consulting work and what is advisory work. And my guess would be, as you bring on CAS clients, that you will do both, but what's the difference between the two? So I define a consultant as an individual who has technical expertise and executes deliverables toward specific outcomes. So you have a project or an engagement that you're working, there's a specific expertise that you or your team bring to the table, and there are specific deliverables that you create as a part of that work together. And you can list the deliverables, they're very specific, and you put that into your engagements. An advisor is slightly different in that this is an individual who connects the technical expertise that your firm provides with business expertise, and then uses that to provide trusted ideas and advice. They are closely connected, and as you consider the engagements and the clients that you bring in through CAS, you will absolutely do both. But I would offer up that as you are looking at the skills that you want to build in yourself or in your organization, we go beyond technical expertise. And in many ways, technical expertise is table stakes. Being an advisor is bringing that business realm and the other pieces to the table, connecting that all together and bringing fresh ideas and interesting, pivotal advice to your clients. I would also say your prospects as well. And we'll get into that second piece in a little bit. CAS advisory really requires both. The advisory in CAS has a consulting component to it and an advisory component. So it's that blending of technical expertise and your advisory acumen that come together. The key here ultimately becomes your discernment about what is required and when, and quite candidly, so that you don't end up with scope creep in your engagements. So your discernment about when consulting is required and when advisory is required becomes an important component when you are establishing or growing a CAS practice. All right, so difference between advisor and consultant, please feel free to pop into Q&A if you have any questions about that, if you have any observations about that, maybe with CAS engagements that you are currently working or as you're establishing or growing your CAS practice. So here's an advanced tip, and you'll see these advanced tips sprinkled all throughout this presentation. The advisory in CAS is the connection of that technical expertise with your client's business growth. Virtually any firm who is invited to participate in RFPs, client engagements, you have prospects or maybe even existing clients who are considering your services and other services from like firms. Technical expertise in many ways is table stakes because you're not invited to play if you don't have the technical expertise. Where you can really differentiate yourself is the advisory piece, because that also helps you to focus on your client's business growth, in addition to helping them with the technical elements of what is required. These next couple of slides here, I wanted to give a little bit of a refresher from our previous webinar. So my last webinar, which we will link to, you'll see a slide in the back of today's presentation if you would like to see the previous webinar that I did back in October around CAS strategy. I wanted to just, so for those of you that joined this is a little bit of a refresher. For those of you that were not a part of this, this is part of that webinar. These will be some excellent pieces to take away on the advisory side as well. But what are some of the mindsets that we need to be thinking about as it relates to CAS strategy? And this directly ties to how we think about the advisory side of CAS as well in these skill sets. Really, today's growth strategy requires some new thought processes, some different ways of thinking, the way in which we approach decisions, and the actions that we take, not only in our firms, but the advice that we're giving to our clients. A lot of growth strategy is now done in 1 to 2 year sprints. Instead of very long-term 3 to 5 year strategy, I think about that as vision, but designing and implementing strategy is starting to become much shorter term. And when you consider that in light of your clients' businesses, and their businesses are likely across a variety of different industries with different impacts, 1 to 2 year sprints in terms of advice is where that ties into as well from the advisory side of things. Another mindset for CAS strategy is decisiveness without all of the information. We have to be able to make decisions in our firm without all of the information. We often have to give solid advice without all of the information. So that decisiveness without all of the information becomes critical as we're considering how do we advise our clients on growing their businesses or solving a problem or whatever the issue at hand happens to be. Another mindset for CAS strategy that also plays into advisory is in where we invest into key verticals and markets. So when we position the value of CAS within the markets that we serve, are we really sharp on the markets that we serve? Are we sharp on the verticals that we serve? So when we are providing that advisory, that we are building our own advisory intelligence, our own knowledge, so that we give the best advice possible. Another mindset for CAS strategy is very focused growth work streams with specific ownership and oversight. The more focused we can be on where we're growing and investing, and when we apply specific owners, assign specific owners and have specific oversight, that's going to help us grow more quickly. This I'm going to get into a little bit later when we talk about the requirements of firm leadership. So this ownership and oversight is not only critical for the CAS strategy that you set, it's also critical for how you approach developing advisory skill sets in your firm. The requirement for agility and pivot points, the way in which we approach, this ties back to decisiveness without all of the information. We have to be able to plug growth strategy leaks. So strategy can leak in a lot of different places: accountability, infrastructure, information, the way in which we assign owners to strategy. All of this also applies to advisory skill sets. This also applies to my earlier comments about ensuring that you have the right partners for things like your technology stack, partners like Bill, other pertinent partners that can help you build your CAS practice and avoid any leaks in your strategy. And the last piece is, and this is not only applicable to CAS strategy, but advisory skill sets, don't assume that you'll continue to succeed without it. Many firms have created they've created a level of success, but without having a specific strategy in place. This applies not only to your growth, but also to your advisory skill sets. When you have a specific plan to build advisory skill sets in your organization, you are going to be much more successful. And to assume that you can't means that at some point you will fall behind. And when you fall behind, you're going to be in a place of having to catch up. So the purpose of today's conversation is to help you frame up some ways that you can build these advisory skill sets. And then very briefly, I'm going to touch on some CAS strategy pillars to consider for your firm. I won't go into detail on these because they are in the previous webinar, so I would highly encourage you to go back to the CAS strategy webinar so that you can get more around each of these. But these pillars that you see on screen here are the areas that we want to be paying the most attention to when it comes to building a strong CAS strategy. And to tie this to today's conversation, the people part of our CAS strategy becomes very, very important. People and technology, I would say, combined, because building the advisory skill sets in your team is part of the people pillar of building a strong CAS strategy. So I'll leave these on screen here for a moment just so you can kind of absorb and read what's on screen here. But just know that for the purposes of today's conversation, we're going to focus on the people side of things and the skills that we want to build as it relates to advisory. All right, so moving right along, one of the things that I promised in today's agenda was developing some clarity around what it is that your clients truly value. And so what is this really kind of gets to the heart of things, that our prospects and our clients, what they value most, they value getting value. And that can take a lot of different forms. And part of our role is to discern what that value is that they want and how to go about making sure that we're in the right place to give it to them. And a lot of times we'll know more about what it is that our clients value. But what I would offer up that as you're building your CAS practice, that much of what you learn about your clients can also be applied to your prospects. You will uncover advice patterns that you see with your clients that also apply to your prospects, which is an advanced tip for helping you to accelerate trust with prospects and accelerate identifying CAS opportunities within those prospects. But a lot of what our prospects value when it comes to getting value, they want new ideas and new ways of thinking. In a world of so much information and data around us, what they really want is intelligence. And the way in which we help them build intelligence is by being in the position of offering new ideas and new ways of thinking. We can also provide value to them by helping them make progress towards significant initiatives in their organizations. What is most important to our clients and our prospects when we focus on helping them make progress? It doesn't have to be entirely solved, but when we can show progress, that is momentum, that builds trust, and that makes them say, yes, I would like more from you. And then lastly, they want to eventually get to a resolution of significant problems that they're facing. So initiatives and problem solving, they're kind of two sides of the same coin in many ways. But how does CAS solve significant problems for them? When you can unlock the answer to that question, help them explore the answer to that question, they are more willing to invest in the value that you provide. And one tip here is that question right there. How does CAS solve significant, not programs, I have a typo in there, problems. How does CAS solve significant problems for them? You can build an executive conversation, an executive session with your prospects and clients specifically around answering that question with them in a collaborative way. So that's an advanced tip that you can take away to help position yourself as a strong advisor to your clients and prospects. So one additional advanced tip here, and this really speaks, I believe, to the mindset that we approach with when it comes to advisory. We will very often undervalue ourselves more than a client will ever undervalue us. This probably gets more to how we value and price our CAS services and our CAS offerings, but we will often undercut ourselves and we will second guess ourselves more than a client or prospect will ever do it to us. So we have to pay attention to that. And as you're considering the advisory traits and skills that you want to consider for your organization, this one right here is a mindset piece that when you can unlock this piece of it and not undervalue yourself before even getting in the door to a client or prospect, you will improve your odds significantly of being successful. So let's talk a little bit about the how. How do we develop clarity on what they value? When we understand that a client or a prospect values value and what that specifically means to them, how do we actually go about developing this? So there are some questions here on screen for you to consider as part of today's conversation, but you can also take this away as something very practical to do with your best clients and also with your prospective clients. The first is taking a look at what their clients or customers want. Many times we stop at what it is that our specific client wants, but if you take that a step further to help them think about what's most important to their client base, now you're unlocking what's most important to them, because that's going to answer a lot of questions about what they particularly value when you frame up the question in the realm of what their customers or clients want. So go a step further, not only what they want, but what do their customers want. The second question to be thinking about when you want to develop clarity is, what are the most significant initiatives that the client or the prospect has for the upcoming year? So this ties back to my earlier commentary about strategy being done in 1 to 2 year sprints. When we take a look at what's in the next 1 to 2 years for that client, what you will probably find is that a lot of your organizations, your clients lack a strategic growth plan. And if you can help them better define or uncover what's most important, you'll learn what they value, and that can tie back to the advisory piece of what you offer to them. And then lastly, what is going to stand in their way of being successful? And where can CAS help to solve for that? Many of us will shy away from this last question because we mistakenly think that it will hold back the opportunity that's in front of us or the potential to earn the client's business. What I would offer to you is that this type of advice-driven question will have the opposite effect, and it will have a positive impact on that client or prospect, because when we are willing to have the candid conversation with them about what can stand in their way, we can help them to solve for it. And guess what? We look so much better in their eyes. We're building trust. We are offering solid advice, and we're helping them to solve what can be standing in their way. I want to make one point here on this last bullet point, where we want to tie CAS results directly to these areas, not the services, not the activities, not necessarily the technical pieces of it, but what are the results that they're looking to accomplish. That is that dividing line between technical expertise, which is critical. I don't want to lessen the value of technical expertise. It's the combining of that with the business acumen piece to help get to results, not just services, not just activities. So when you are thinking about or working with your teams on how to position CAS and have these advisory conversations, just ask yourself the question, are we talking about services and activities, or are we talking about results? So that can help build the awareness of how we're positioning the conversation and how we're positioning the value. An advanced tip here, and I've touched on this a little bit already, but many firms don't take the step of understanding what's most important to their clients, their clients' customers. If you take this step and ask that question, you will absolutely stand out, because you will get your clients thinking differently, and getting them to think differently is part of the value that we can provide. All right, I'll take a pause here and see if there is anything in the Q&A. I'm not seeing anything, but I would be curious. I'll ask you a question to put into the Q&A here. I would be curious on your thoughts about this advanced tip. If this is something that you have done with your clients and any results that you have gotten from that, or if you haven't, your thoughts on where you can start to use this. So I will leave that as a question. I'll continue to roll here, but I'll leave that as a question for you. And I'd really like to hear anything that you have on either what results that you've seen from using this type of tip, or where you can potentially use it if you haven't already. All right, moving right along, we are good on time. Let's dissect a little bit here for a moment the difference between a trait and a skill, because a lot of times these phrases can be used interchangeably, and there is some crossover, to be fair, but I want to give you some differentiators. So as you're considering what traits do I want to build in my organization as it relates to CAS, and what skills do I require, they will have some differences. And I'm going to give you some specific traits and skills on the next slide. A trait at its core, it's an innate quality or a characteristic. So in my example here, I have listed curiosity as a trait. It's something that an individual might bring to the table as a quality that they already possess, a characteristic that they already possess. So I want you to hold on to that for just a moment. And then a skill is an ability that we develop. It's something that we maybe don't know, or that we have a limited ability to perform, and we develop that ability over time. And that ability can be developed through learning programs, that can be developed through coaching, that can be developed through working with a client. So it's something that is a developed ability over time. So what I like to look for is I like to look for the intersection of trait and skill. So if I'm using my example here, curiosity is a trait. And when we have that trait of curiosity, we can apply that to the skill of asking great questions. So I've given you some questions already on the previous slide, but asking questions is a skill, an ability that we can develop over time. Now, what I will offer to you is that if you can do some of this in the reverse. So if you say, I would like to get better at asking questions, that's a skill that you can develop, and it can improve a trait. It can improve the trait of curiosity. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have the trait in order to build the skill. You can do this in the reverse. And some people will have high levels of curiosity. Some people might have maybe lower levels of curiosity. But if this is a trait that you want to build, you can actually improve it by learning the skills that can help to improve it. So I want to just give you the other way that you can build these two elements interchangeably. I like to look for the intersection of trait and skill, because that's where I see advisory at. Advisory is that intersection, combining of qualities and characteristics with learning skill and developing ability that actually gets you to the result that you're desiring to get to. And I've already mentioned that this can be reversed. But the fuel I would offer is specific skill development opportunities where you get to apply what we're talking about here. You get to apply a skill that builds a trait, or you can take a trait that you have and improve upon it by developing a specific ability. So advisory is that intersection. We're using this trait and skill to formulate new ideas for the client. So I want to give that a moment just to sink in here for a moment, and so you can kind of absorb what's on the screen here. And also in the Q&A, I would be curious if you have any observations around this, where maybe you have a specific trait that you have improved upon or you've leveraged by building a skill, and what the outcome is from that. So advisory is this middle section here where we want to build the traits. We want to use our traits and we want to use our skills in order to bring great advice to our clients. And I will just take a quick peek on Q&A here. All right, moving right along. So let's talk about some specific traits and skills that we can focus on for advisory success. And I would also be curious if you see anything, if you have a difference of opinion on traits and skills. And this is one of those areas where we can offer up have a difference of opinion about traits and skills, and it can make for excellent conversation within your firm, so that you build and decide upon what are the traits that we want to have and what are the skills that we want to build in order to get there. So I'm going to start with the left here with traits. So I've already mentioned curiosity. I like to think of curiosity as intentional interest in broad topics in what's around you. I want to hone in on broad topics here for just a moment, because the way in which we build our advisory muscle is by getting out of the lanes that we are typically in most of the time, because our clients tend to sit in the lanes that they are in most of the time. And part of our role is to help them think more broadly If we're going to help them think more broadly, we have to be more curious about broader topics and what's happening around us outside of the lane that we're in. A second trait to be considering is the trait of agility. This is quick thinking. This is the ability to pivot. It's highly connected to the ability to be decisive, so that when something is presented to you, that ability to think quickly through it and to make a move becomes very critical, especially if we put this in the realm of CAS, let's say that you have learned something about the client, maybe on the technical side of things as part of the consulting world, where you're saying, gosh, I've just uncovered this. How do I think through this very quickly and then come to a conclusion? How do I think differently? And then how do I help my client to think differently? So that might be a more tangible application of agility. I would also offer another trait as being both high tech and high touch. This is the blending of technology with the people side of the equation that I referred to a little bit earlier when I showed you the CAS strategy pieces on the earlier slide. There's a requirement, I believe, to be fluid between the tactical and strategic aspects of the work that we do. And when we can be fluid between thinking tactically and thinking strategically, that is a real advisory advantage to our clients. So paying attention to where we can leverage high technology. So Bill being an excellent example of that, and giving you the ability to also be high touch, because you can take what you're learning and then turn that into advice. Another trait I would offer is having an orientation toward momentum. This is being able to determine a way forward and then moving in that direction. Many times our clients get stuck and we get stuck because we lose momentum. And I teach this a lot in business development programs with my own clients, that in many ways, the name of the game of being successful is to help continue with momentum. Even if it's a small step forward is better than no step forward. Many times when we don't have any steps forward, it's really easy to start getting stuck. So think about how momentum oriented you are in your own organization. Our clients require that of us too, because they need to move forward. I mentioned earlier, progress on initiatives or solving a really important challenge or problem. That requires momentum. And then the last trait that I'll offer is approachability. Are we a firm where our clients and others readily come to us? Is that a cultural aspect of our firm? Is that an aspect of our CAS teams, our advisory teams? Approachability is really critical. And it's balancing approachability with also being assertive. I think there is a fine line there, and we want to be both assertive with the advice that we offer, and we also want to be approachable with the advice that we offer. So consider your team, consider on the clients that you're working with, is approachability is approachability a trait that you and your team possess? So let's take a look at skills. So if I say that traits are kind of innate characteristics or qualities, skills being the abilities that we can develop that amplify those traits. One skill is the skill of business acumen. And while there might be some sub-skills underneath this, the one that I really want to point us to is being able to convert data points to business points. Data is data until we translate that data for our clients. So that skill of being able to translate data to business and what that means for the client is really critical to providing trustworthy advice. I would also offer the skill of being a connector. Do we connect our clients and prospects to ideas, to other people that they might want in their networks? Do we connect them to resources? This is a very specific, tangible skill that when we connect our clients and prospects to what they require, that is a way to build trust, and it is a way of offering advice. Do we ask great questions? Are we a questioner? Developing and asking smart and thoughtful questions. There is oftentimes much more power in asking a great question than there is in having the right answer. So an exercise you can bring back to your firm, something very tactical, is a questioning exercise where, and you can frame that up with a specific client, you can frame that up with the CAS offerings, a specific CAS offering. What are the questions that we want to be asking of our clients? And what are the questions we want to be posing to them that they should be thinking about their own businesses? So there's a couple different ways that you can look at questions, but a powerful exercise is a question development exercise. And then the last two skills that I'll offer up for today are communication flexibility and then the ability to validate or challenge. Communication flexibility is the ability to be concise and be appropriate to the situation. Being able to read the room, if you will, whether it's an in-person room or a virtual room. Are we concise? Is what we're offering appropriate to the client situation? Is it appropriate to help them with that initiative or to solve that challenge? And then lastly, validate or challenge. Many times we are asked to validate a direction or challenge an assumption of a client in their business. So as you take a look at those two filters, and as you're giving advice and helping your clients to make smart choices, are we validating something, a direction that they want to go, or are we challenging an assumption that we have? Again, that can be an exercise that you take your firm through, and you can apply it to a specific client. You can apply it to an offering. Where are we validating things and where are we challenging things? And when we do those things, are we then offering advice to go along with that they can use and make progress with? So as you're absorbing these traits and skills on screen, I would encourage you to consider, how might you rank these traits in your organization or for yourself? How might you rank these skills for your organization or for yourself? And that can be a starting point as you consider how to begin to integrate these into your organization or to amplify them. So an advanced tip here. It's worthwhile to invest the time to differentiate between trait and skill because they're often used interchangeably. And you may come to some different conclusions about what is a trait and what is a skill. The important thing is to take the time to have the conversation, because what this is going to ultimately help you do is match your talent to the client's requirements. So depending on the type of segments that you're calling into, so we talked about the verticals earlier, the markets, if there are very specific traits and skills that a client set requires or a vertical requires, you will have a better sense of the talent on your team and how you could match that talent. Or if you are hiring for talent, these traits and skills can also be a part of a hiring profile and a role description. So you can use this on the front end of your talent acquisition process as well. All right, let's switch gears here. So we have talked about value and defining it. We have talked about some traits and skills. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about firm leadership requirements. So with the lens of advisory skills, if you are a leader, a firm leader today, what might be required of you to make sure that these skills are identified and integrated into your organization? I would offer that you yourself really require a sales and growth orientation. And what I mean by this is, if you're going to establish and grow a CAS practice, you have to yourself be oriented toward growing that practice and the sales aspect of growing and building the practice. So this means, do we have skills around uncovering new opportunities? Do we have skills, and are you yourself analyzing the markets that we are best suited for, and then putting together plans to approach those markets? So you yourself as the segment leader or the firm leader require that type of orientation in order to build the skills in your team to ultimately deliver to your clients. The second requirement is the commitment to advisory skills. No one simply becomes an advisor. No one simply becomes it. There is ongoing development and application that is required. Yes, people will have natural inclination toward advisory skills, but no one simply becomes it. And I run into this a lot with my clients when it comes to business development and sales skills. For as much rigor as firms have around the technical delivery requirements of any service that your organization offers, your firm offers, there is often not the same amount of rigor when it comes to building the skills of sales and business development. And I would offer that this extends to advisory skills as well. So we can build the skills in people that have the natural inclination. I would offer that we could also build skills in those that may not naturally present them to you. And then the last piece, the last requirement, the CAS structural pieces. The structures have to be there to support the advice that you want to be able to give your clients and prospective clients. That might be strategy elements that I referred to earlier, the technical elements that I referred to earlier. So do you have the structural pieces? Do they have to be all in place perfectly? No, definitely not. We want to be agile and to be building this and improving it as we are sitting in it. But paying attention to the strategy elements, are these part of our strategy? Do we have some progress? Where do we have opportunities? So I would offer to make sure to have those pieces in place or in flight. And an advanced tip here is that a sales and growth orientation, in my opinion, is really not negotiable. Our clients want to grow. They want to evolve. They want to lead in their markets. They want growth, whether that's organic growth or maybe there's an acquisition element as well, a merger and acquisition element. But because our clients want to grow, we need to orient ourselves in that direction. So if we are not oriented towards sales and growth, it's going to be difficult to help our clients grow in that direction. All right, I want to offer up the evolution of an advisory relationship and just give you all a visual to orient yourselves around. As I think about the relationships that I have built over time and how I coach my clients about through this, there are two elements to relationship building that I want to touch on today. And these are the axes that you see on the screen here. There's outcomes value and there is relationship value. And typically, as we uncover and deliver more value to a client, and I would also offer we can do this to prospective clients as well to a degree, the more that we have the ability to raise the value of the relationship. So when we consistently deliver on outcomes, we build trust. Trust builds relationships. And typically there is an evolution that we go through. An early stage relationship might be more transactional in nature. If you have watched any of my previous webinars, you might hear me talk about rapport and relationship. An early stage introduction is really rapport building. And the way that we get to building a relationship with that client or prospective client is through value. When we do that consistently, we build trust. Trust builds value. Your very best clients, they will be in the business and partnership segments. They may not all be up in the partnership segments, but they will be in the business segments at minimum. So a business segment essentially meaning that we deliver outcomes for them consistently. We help them to improve our business. A partnership relationship is we get the ability to do more with that client. We are helping them build toward their future. We are providing personal and professional value to the organization. There is an elevated level of trust in helping that client work toward their vision. So that business relationship can still be a bit transactional in nature, but it is working toward that partnership, and it kind of sits in between transactional and partnership. And also to realize that some relationships will remain transactional. So think about transactions as tasks, performing tasks for a client. And this is often where clients can get focused on technical expertise. So technical expertise can have a transactional element to it, but it can lead to business value. It's providing the advisory piece, great advice, that business acumen, the things that I've referred to earlier that elevate it to a business relationship and continuing on that path elevates it to a partnership relationship. So a way that you can use this visual on screen, especially as it relates to your CAS practice, is to take a look at the clients that you're already working with and how might you categorize these clients. Would you categorize them as being more early stage or transactional? Would you consider them to be in that business realm where you're delivering outcomes and there's still more opportunity to grow? Or would you put them in the partnership category? So a way that you can use this is to assess the clients that you have, see where you have an opportunity to move clients along from transactional to business to partnership through the lens of the advisory piece of CAS. Trust is really the variable that can improve the speed that you move a relationship from transaction to partner. So, and trust is built in small stages. It is built by delivering on things consistently. It is built by delivering, doing what you say that you're going to do. It is built on being able to perform the advisory skills that we mentioned earlier. So there are lots of ways to build trust. And for each of your clients, especially your top CAS clients, you might sit down with them and ask them, what are some of the ways that we have been able to build trust with you? And where do we maybe have some opportunities to continue to build trust with you? Again, a tangible way that you can use that tip to help you deepen the relationships you have with your clients. All right, so in the time that we have remaining here, I want to offer up some specific ways to build and integrate advisory skill sets. And then I want to get into positioning advisory value by giving you 3 key areas to focus on. So some ways that you can tangibly build and integrate advisory skill sets. There is formal and ongoing skill development. There is a lot of power in having a learning program that is blended with advisory concepts, scenario-based applications, so specific scenarios for your clients and your firm. If you can connect those together, you can improve your odds of building those strong advisory skill sets when you've landed and confirmed the skill sets that you most want to focus on. Application opportunities are really critical because we can only become excellent at offering advice when we have the opportunity to do so. It's not something that we can do in a vacuum or we can only do in theory. We have to have something that's applied. So these can be things like coaching, shadowing when you're working with clients, researching and presenting research to a client. You might do pairs advisory where somebody who's a little bit younger in his or her career are paired with someone who is more experienced in advisory. Also, participation in client planning can be an excellent way to watch what's happening and then also have the opportunity to actually do. So there's the concept and then there is the doing of the concept. That is the only way that we can become excellent at it. And we need to have those places in which to practice in a way that's smart, that doesn't put you at risk by maybe doing the pairs advisory and having people build those skills in a way that's safe and mitigates risk. And then lastly, the tools and data and technology that support an advisory environment. You don't have to have all the pieces solved for right now today, but do you have them in your roadmap? Are they a part of your strategy? So this might be your CRM. These might be segment plans that you build. This might be your technology stack that you integrate or implement. So consider where you have some strengths in these areas and where you have some opportunities. Where are some areas that we can position advisory value? How can we get into the marketplace and in our clients? It is one thing to build these skills and to have the intelligence to be able to offer great advice, but people need to know that we are the experts in what we do. So a first question to consider is, what are your serviceable markets? When you go to market with CAS, where are your best places to be able to, where are your best verticals and markets? And then what are the in-person and digital strategies that you can use to reach them? So we're not going to get into like the nuts and bolts of those types of tactics here, but I want to give you the ability or the environment to think about this at a big picture level. What about your clients? Have you positioned the value of CAS with your clients? Cross-selling CAS to existing clients is an area to consider. Confirming your advisory value with existing clients. So back to my relationship graph there. This is confirming your advisory value. How are we building trust with you? Where are we providing you the most value, and where can we improve? And what about within your firm? Is your firm clear that CAS is a strategy that you are pursuing? And are they clear that on how to refer business into the CAS segment, and that this is something that you are focused on as a firm? And this might seem a little counterintuitive, but if you offer, or if you have ever offered services that might be viewed as alternatives to CAS, if there's confusion in your firm, in other words, it's really critical to clearly position the advisory value of CAS internally. So if there's any room for confusion, that confusion has to be cleared up. And so that your firm is very clear about this as an offering, and that there's a referral path to help introduce CAS into your existing clients or new clients. Both your clients and the greater marketplace, they have to be aware of your advisory acumen. So our clients and our prospective clients that are in our sphere are important. It's also getting out into the greater marketplace. So where do our clients and prospective clients spend time? So if I use myself as an example, most of my clients and prospective clients have at least some activity in LinkedIn, as an example for me. So I need to make sure I'm in the marketplace, the LinkedIn marketplace, as a way to build greater visibility and awareness for the value that I bring to the marketplace. And then that's a greater marketplace. And then you can segment down from there into your specific verticals and segments that are most important to you. So I have 2 slides left. Let's talk about where to begin. If you're new to advisory, I would encourage you to start with a market analysis and determine the serviceable markets where you can best provide advisory value. That way you can start to develop a clear path for yourself. A traits and skills analysis. So determine the traits and skills that you will commit to build, that you believe are the most valuable to your firm and to your clients, and start there with that analysis. And then I would also offer to start within. Market your CAS team's advisory skills within your firm and make sure it is very clear about the value that you provide, and so that you offer a clear path for other parts of the firm to refer business to your CAS team. Where can you expand if you have an existing CAS practice? I would encourage you to reconfirm your markets. You might expand an existing market, you might remove low-performing markets, or add new ones. So that understanding and recalibrating of your markets. You might also consider a voice of the client analysis, which can help you dig deeper into your existing markets and to confirm that you are in the right place and providing the right value. Formalizing your skill development. Introducing formal skills programs and application opportunities. When you formalize your skills programs and you are committed, you are sending the message to the firm that this is important, that you're committed, and that you are going to offer skill development paths for people within CAS, but I would also offer across your firm. And then lastly, ensuring a healthy pipeline, determining the number of opportunities that you require to grow. If you operate on a subscription renewal model with your CAS services, I would also encourage you, if you're not already doing so, understand what your annual recurring revenue is, and also your net recurring revenue. Understand those numbers so that you can communicate that and understand your opportunities. And my last advanced tip, no one simply becomes an advisor. You may have the natural skills, but no one becomes it. Commit to building this in yourself if you're an individual tuning in today, or if you're a leader, commit to building that in your firm. Commit to it as you would technical expertise, commit to it as you would your technology stack and your other offerings. This will pay off in dividends for you. And then very lastly, these are in your handout, but just some additional resources for you and your firm that I want to make sure that you're aware of. A couple of Bill webinars that I have offered in the past, and then also a couple of articles. And with that, I want to say thank you to all of you. I will turn my camera back on, hopefully here, and want to thank you. And I will go ahead and turn this back over to Megan and Jasmine to close us out.
All right, Megan, did you want to provide any closing remarks?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all so much for being here today. Sorry, I'm trying to get over a cold and it was attacking my throat. We really appreciate you joining us. I'm seeing so many things come through the chat or the Q&A. Compliments. I'm so glad you really enjoyed this presentation. And keep an eye out. Like Amy mentioned, she's doing other CAS content with us. And we'd love to see you join us at one of those webinars as well. Jasmine, I'll pass it to you to wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy. It's been really great having you back with us today. And of course, thank you so much to Bill. We love being able to partner with you and deliver the very best in educational content to our members. And Amy, we really appreciate that you were here to just share so many thoughtful insights from your experiences and your professional advice. And we appreciate that. But we definitely want to say thank you as well to every single one of our attendees out in the audience that has spent this time with us. Asked so many great questions. We didn't get a chance to address them all, but I will be sure to share them with the Bill team in a full report. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of today's webinar. Just as a quick reminder, the CPAacademy.org team will go ahead and process your credit a little later today. You'll have access to that archive recording, as well as your CPE credit and the handout that was provided. For now, go ahead and check your email inbox. We also sent you a link to the course evaluation survey, and we are just seeing all those wonderful comments flow in the Q&A panel. I do hope that you will put it where it counts. We take your feedback very seriously. So please take the time to fill that out and let us know how your experience was today. Please also stay in touch with us via LinkedIn and check our event schedule frequently. We are always adding new courses and resources for our community of members. But until then, we will see you all on a future webinar. Have a great day, everyone.